From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Well, everyone, good morning. Happy Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. I hope your week kicked off just unbelievably awesome, because I know mine did. This is going to be an unbelievable year for a lot of cybersecurity practitioners. I'm so excited for everyone. I hope you are having a wonderful morning as well, because we've got a packed show today. So I'm not going to rehash a lot, but here's the deal. Log4j, Log4j, Log4j. 3 different ways we're talking about it. Very, very interesting. And I want your comments. So be by your keyboards. Be ready. If you're listening after the fact on your favorite podcast listening platform, shoot me an email. I want to talk about this more and more and more, because our leading story is a really good one. We'll also be talking about Microsoft detailing an OS type of malware, and North Korea's targeting Russia. And that's raising some geopolitical eyebrows. I'll give you the insights on that one as well. First of all, we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Go check us out, subscribe, go to our YouTube channel, a lot of really cool stuff. Also, our brand new website at cyberhubpodcast.com is live. You can find all the links to everywhere the CyberHub Podcast and our family of podcasts is available, including Breaking into Cybersecurity, CISO Talk, and Goodbye Privacy. A brand new season of Goodbye Privacy is coming this April. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be phenomenal. All right. But before we do that, before we get into coffee, shout outs. David M., good morning. Tom, good morning to you, buddy. Eddie from Big Dallas, Texas. Chris, good morning. Thaba, good morning from South Africa. Well, good afternoon, buddy. Thank you for being here. I'm really grateful. Findlay, good morning. Marcia, good morning. Anthony, good morning. And Chris, good morning. And I've got an espresso. Jason, Jason, an unbelievable CISO. You guys got to go check him out. Check out his podcast on CISO Talk. It is magnificent. Jason dropped the bomb, man. Ton of knowledge on this kind of stuff. Go and check it out as well. Jason, good morning for you being here as well. Thank you. My double espresso, because that's the only way I function in the mornings, right? I've got my son's going to be 3 months this week, and sleep is starting to come to some sort of level. But in security, just because he gives me sleep doesn't mean something else doesn't. So coffee cup cheers, folks. Let's get into our first story today. And it's a call out by the Apache Foundation. They're saying there's a bunch of open source leechers out there. And they're saying that that's contributing to some of the issues that are going on, particularly along Log4j. Now, we'll see if their finger pointing here is this kind of like the intern. We had the intern do this, we're sorry, or is this legitimate? Your opinions matter. So the Apache Foundation is calling out for-profit companies that are leeching on open source code, warning that only a tiny percentage of them are actually contributing to securing the open source ecosystem. And they talk about the fact that open source is a community. It's defined by those who show up and do the work. Companies that build open source into their products rarely participate in the continued maintenance of it. In fact, they just pull the code, plug it in, and put it there. This was in a position paper published ahead of a high-level White House meeting on open source software security that's being hosted by the Biden administration. Only a tiny percentage of downstream companies are actually participating in maintaining it. Many avoid placing additional unfunded burdens on the few maintainers who are already doing the work. This obviously coming after Log4j. One of the most valuable things businesses that use open source can do is contribute back, help fix bugs, conduct security audits, and feedback the results. While welcome and useful, obviously I don't understand the full quote here. I'm sorry. I'm out of context here. Log4j, Heartbleed are all examples of open source vulnerabilities. So, are they deflecting or are they right? And it's a very, very interesting debate. That's why I chose this story to lead off with, because it's at the central nervous system of everything we do in security. If We use open source within our environments. If we're not contributing back, and then there's an open source vulnerability, are we just as guilty? Are we overly trusting open source? There's a lot of different things that go on with this. I'm curious for your feedback. You can put it in the comments here. If you're wherever you're watching us, we'll be able to pull it up. And I've got multiple screens in front of me so I can see it no matter what platform you put it on. But is Apache onto something here? It's very, very interesting. All right. Keep that in mind. There's a big open source security summit in the White House. I believe it is next week, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure the exact date, but this is the position paper that's leading the discussion. So you can assume that out of that, there'll probably be a bunch of companies that say, we will contribute back, but we'll see what really happens there. Good morning to Mr. McQuiggan. Good morning to David B. Thank you for being here as well. Another Log4j story where Sky Ransomware is using it to hack VMware Horizon servers. Our good friend here on the show, Karen Warstall, was very kind to give us some details. And it says that 80% of cloud operates on the VMware system in some way or another, whether it's directly or indirectly supported. Now, in late December, security researchers with the Malware Hunter team focused on Sky Ransomware that's locking down enterprises. It's encrypted multiple victims. It's asking for $800,000 ransom from one of them. On Monday, a new warning was published by Microsoft about a new campaign from a China-based actor, and it tracks as Dev0401 to exploit the Log4Shell vulnerability on VMware Horizon systems exposed to the internet and deploy Sky Ransomware. VMware is used as for desktop and app virtualization in the cloud, allowing users to access them remotely with a dedicated client as a web browser. If you don't know what VMware is, I suggest you go to DuckDuckGo, do a search, read all about it. But Microsoft notes that the Sky Ransomware operators rely on a command control server that impersonates domains used by legitimate companies like Sophos, Trend Micro, NVIDIA, and Rogers Corporations. Yesterday, we talked about NHS being targeted for Log4j through their VMware Horizon deployments as well. If you do have those. So here's the thing. I've seen some of the notices that came out of VMware. VMware said, you really shouldn't be impacted. You are. There is a patch. Get it done. Period. End of discussion. Don't take any more risks with that. CISA Director Jen Easterly says that Log4j has not resulted in significant customer intrusions as of yet. She says they've been actively monitoring for threat actors looking to exploit Log4j. Over the past several weeks, we've seen widespread exploitation by criminal actors who use it to install crypto mining softwares on victim computers or to capture a victim computer for use in botnets. At this time, we have not seen the use of Log4Shell resulting in significant intrusions, she added. This may be the case because sophisticated adversaries have already used this vulnerability to exploit targets and are just waiting to leverage their access until network defenders on our lower alerts and not as high. This was kind of similar to Equifax. It was similar to SolarWinds. They kind of waited till some stuff people weren't as focused, and then they went in and compromised networks just like that. So they're not seeing confirmed compromises of any federal agencies, including critical infrastructure. They are seeing widespread scanning by malicious actors. They've seen some prevalence of what we call low-level activities like install of crypto mining software, but they haven't seen any destructive attacks as of yet. So something to keep in mind. Microsoft details powerdir, a macOS vulnerability that leads to a data leak. It's tracked as CVE 2021-30970. The new security error, which Microsoft calls powerdir, allows an attacker to bypass the platform's transparency, consent, and control tech and potentially orchestrate an attack based on the user's protected personal data. The TCC is meant to help users configure their privacy settings in their application, including access to features like microphone, camera, location, calendar, and more, stuff that a lot of us Mac users like myself really, really value. It's something I pay a lot of attention to. TCC maintains two types of databases, one for permissions that apply to a specific user profile, another for permissions that apply to system-wide protected via system integrity protections and restricted access. It's been discovered that it is possible to programmatically change a target user's home directory and plant a fake TCC database, which stores the consent history of app requests, according to Microsoft. The vulnerability, Microsoft explains, was identified while looking at the patch Apple released for the previous TCC vulnerability, CVE 2020-934, and exists because the fix only prevents the attack but does not address the core issue. Apple addressed this specific CVE with the release of macOS Monterey 12.1 in December of last year. And finally, North Korea started off the year by attacking the Russian Foreign Ministry. A North Korean cyber espionage group named Konni has been linked to a series of targeted attacks aimed at the Russian Federation's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with New Year lures to compromise Windows system with malware. The activity cluster demonstrates the patience and persistent natures of advanced actor waging multi-phase campaigns against perceived high-value networks, according to Lumen Technologies Black Lotus Labs. The Konni Group's tactics, techniques, and procedures are known to overlap with threat actors belonging to the broader Comiskey umbrella, which is used to track the cybersecurity under the moniker Velvet Camilla or ITG-16, Black Banshee, and Thallium. How many more names can we give people? The most recent attacks involve the actor gaining access to target networks through stolen credentials, exploiting the foothold to load malware for intelligence gathering purposes, with early signs of the activity documented by Malwarebytes as far as July of 2021. The subsequent iteration of the phishing campaign are believed to have unfolded in 3 waves, the first commencing on October 19th of last year, to harvest credential from the MID personnel, followed by leveraging COVID-19 themes in November to install a rogue version of the Russian-mandated vaccination registration software that serves as a loader for additional payloads. Russia has issued a vaccine passport law, so they're taking advantage of that. And North Korea targeting Russia might seem a bit weird, but not so much. North Korea operates at the whim of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. In fact, that's how their cyber operations are trained, funded, and carried out. Russia and China, while the friend of my enemy is my friend, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Sorry, I haven't had enough espresso. All right, so Russia and China may seem to get along in some way. They do share a large border, but Putin sees the China move as threatening Russia at some point. And so Putin is trying to play both sides to the other. China's going to deploy North Korea to distract the Russians a little bit more, especially when it comes to their foreign diplomacy that China cares about. Now, China can't be seen in the front of attacking Russia because they want to seem internationally, at least, as allies, even though there's nothing allied. There's no core values. Even the way the government is run is very, very different in Russia than it is in China. The way the CCP runs their regime is very different from how Putin runs his regime. Again, very, very interesting geopolitical stuff going on here, but it goes to the greater realm of things in the security world, folks. Russia's under a lot of pressure to put an end to a lot of the cybersecurity crime that comes out of its territory. China, North Korea, and a few other nations are gladly recruiting these folks into their territory to continue that malicious activity, promising them they won't be extradited or arrested. So you've got to keep an eye on this. This is really significant because this is going to be a shift in how we see attacks originate. So we could see Russian-style attacks originate from Chinese IPs or North Korean IPs with a mixture, as we're reviewing code, with a little bit of Russian and maybe a little bit of Mandarin or traditional Chinese in there, maybe even a little bit of Korean. So that's really, really significant because it's going to start, we're going to have to adjust our forensics as we see how this plays out. Russia is trying to play nice because Putin wants Nord Stream 2, which is the pipeline that goes from Russia to Europe, to Germany and part of the Nordic countries. To him, that's critical in order to facilitate, one, geopolitical influence across the EU. You supply them gas, you've got a little bit more influence across the EU and its policies. That's why he's building up troops on the border with Ukraine. There's a lot of different things that are going on that are all part of a greater piece of a chess game that Putin is very good at playing geopolitically. This is China trying to counter his moves by using the North Koreans, to see what his foreign affairs people are working on internationally. Is maybe what the conversations being had between the Chinese and Russians really true, or is Russia really, doing one thing here and doing something else there? That's part of why we see these types of stories. And again, this is going to influence a lot of what we do come forward, especially when it comes to forensics and cybersecurity criminal organizations. Folks, that's it for our show today. We'll be back again tomorrow at 9 a.m. with a lot more. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and most importantly, stay cyber safe. Cheers.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.